Today it's going to be scatter plots and least square lines. Correlation coefficient. You're going to be given a set of data and you're going to calculate the correlation coefficient, which is R. The R value will let you know how cohesive that set of data is. In other words, how closely tied are they? Is there some kind of relation? If there is it positive or is it negative? And you'll be able to do all these calculations with your calculator. In this case, your R value is -1. A -1 for a correlation coefficient means that you have a perfect negative correlation. That means that every point that you plot will fall on a line that you can draw through there. And if it's negative, it's falling down to the right. Notice that these dots are scattered. There is no correlation. And if you have a perfect no correlation, that means your R value is 0. If I draw a line through this data here, I've taken care of 3 of those points, but I'm missing 2 of them. And the same way if I go this way. No matter how I draw a line to try to get these points in there, I can never get more than 3 because they're all scattered. That would be a 0 correlation. If you have a perfect correlation, perfect positive correlation, then you have an R value of +1. Notice that this rises to the right and every dot is on that line. That would be a perfect positive correlation. Whenever you calculate R on your calculator, R must be between -1 and 1. It cannot be a value that's outside of that range. It will always be between -1 and 1. We're going to use this set of data on this screen, and my voice will be referring to the screen in the back of the room that has the calculator screen on it. The first thing you want to do when you're given a set of data is to enter it into your calculator. Now before you enter it into your calculator, you want to make sure you don't have anything in there in your lists already. So hit Stat, the Stat button. It's under the Delete key. And you should have this on your screen. And hit Edit. Just hit Enter on the Edit choice. And you'll notice I have something in my screen already. So if you want to get rid of a list, put your cursor on the list name, like L1 at the top. Highlight it and hit Clear, and then Enter. And I need to get rid of list 2 as well. So I'm putting my cursor on L2, hitting Clear, and then Enter. Keep that in mind later on after you have stuff in your lists. You probably don't have anything in there now. So if you want to enter something into L1, you have to put your cursor in the first cell. Not the name of the cell, but the first cell. And you'll notice up on the screen our X values are up there. And let's put the X values in list 1. So hit 0, enter, 2, enter, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10. So now we go to list 2 and enter in -3.2, and remember the negative sign is to the right of the decimal point. It is not the minus sign. And then we have 1.2, 5, 8.8, 11.6, 13, and 17.5. You should have the same number of items in each list. If you don't, this isn't going to work out on your graph. So if your lists don't stop at the same point, if they're not even down there at the bottom, then something's wrong. You've missed a number somewhere. We want to plot these on a graph so that we can look to see, without drawing a line, if there is some kind of correlation there. So to do that, we want to make sure there's nothing in anything that's going to be graphed other than these points. To do that, let's hit Y equals. It's the very top left button under the calculator screen. Y equals. And you should see this, but I have an equation in mind. You probably don't. If you already have one in there, just hit clear and get rid of it. Otherwise, when you go to plot your points, you're going to have all kinds of junk showing up in there that has nothing to do with the problem. So you always want to make sure you clear everything else out first. Now we want to plot these points, and in order to plot them, we have to go to the stat plot feature. So hit second, and then y equals. So I'm in stat plots now. Let's use the first one. We're already there. So hit enter on it. If yours isn't turned on, then put your cursor on the word on and hit enter. It should be highlighted. We are plotting points, so you want to choose this first graph here that's blinking and hit enter on it to make sure it stays highlighted. Now in your, does this look exactly like my screen? Is yours, okay, because in the next step there is going to be something that looks a little different, and I'll tell you what that is. But your X list, your X numbers, you must put the right list in for the X list. And did we put our X values in list 1? Yes, so that's already good. And Y list is 2, that's already good. If not, let's say that we put them in L5. If you wanted to change that list, you would hit second 5, and that would put list 5 in there. But we don't need list 5, we need list 1. So second 1 would give you list 1. You can choose the type of mark you want to use. You can use a donut, a plus sign, or a decimal point. I'm using a donut. Once you have that, you can graph it. Now normally people will hit the graph button to go graph. That only makes sense. But if you do that, it's going to show you the entire graph. So if everything shows up in the first quadrant, you'll see it there, but you're also going to see a blank area in quadrant 2, 3, and 4, and we don't even need that. So if you want your graph to show up concentrating on just the items that you want to see, then your calculator will set the window settings for you so that all you see is what you want. And the way you do that is to hit zoom, which is in the middle under the calculator screen. Hit zoom and then 9. And there is your graph. Now, what kind of correlation do you think this has? Does it have a positive correlation, a negative, or none at all? Positive, yeah. Is it going to be a perfect positive? Do you think you can draw a line through there that has all those points on it? No, we can't. There's going to be something that's going to be left off, but it still looks like it's going to be close. So now we have to calculate the R value to see how close it is. Because if it's 1, it's a perfect positive. If it's -1, perfect negative. If it's 0, then it's way off. But it could be anything from -1 to 1. So hit second quit and clear out of that screen. And here's how you calculate the correlation coefficient. I can show you how to calculate it now, and it still won't show up on your screen unless you do the following thing first. And you only have to do it once. If for some reason it gets turned off later, this will show you how to do it. Hit second 0. And you'll get the catalog that contains every symbol and function there is in the calculator. Do not hit the down arrow button. You can, but you're going to be scrolling forever. It's like on a web page where you look at the scroll bar and it's about that big, which means the page goes on forever. Well, this goes on forever. Look at the A in the upper right hand corner. When that's turned on like it is now, that means you can hit the first letter of what you're looking for and it'll take you to that section. It'd be like flipping in a phone book immediately to the D's. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for diagnostic on. So if you hit the D button, and D is right above the X to the -1 button, just to the left of the sign button. If you hit the X to the -1 button that has a D above it, look what it does. It takes you straight to the D's. And now you can down arrow straight to diagnostic on. We're looking for diagnostic on and hit enter. And hit enter again. If it says done on your screen underneath diagnostic on, then you're ready to go. To calculate the correlation coefficient, hit Stat, right arrow over to Calc, and you want to choose the linear regression function that has ax plus b in it. It could be 4 on yours, it may not be. But you need linreg ax plus b. That's a linear regression. Choose that by hitting enter. And in order to do a linear regression using list 1 and 2, you have to enter those in now. So hit second 1, and that gives you L1. You need a comma. The comma button is above the 7. Hit second 2, and that gives you L2. Now you need another comma. What you're going to do is not only calculate the correlation coefficient, but you're going to make this thing create an equation that you can use to predict items. So in order to do that, you have to do this. Hit the VARS button. The VARS button is just to the left of clear, V-A-R-S. And then right arrow to YVARS. And it's already on function, so just hit enter. And then hit enter again. And there you have it. You have Y1. And if you hit enter, it'll create that R value for you. Now, you may have a different thing on that. Bring me your calculator and I'll show you. If you bring me your calculator. No, not you, just her. Bring me your calculator. So if we go to Stat and Calc and we do the linreg in there, you have X list and Y list. You just choose the lists to put in there. And where it says store regression equation, that's where you put your VARs in. So you do VARs, right arrow, function, and choose Y1. And then when you get finished, you have to hit calculate. And it will calculate everything for you. When you go to Stat and right arrow to calculate and go to the linear regression and choose that, it does not give you the same screen as what I have. It itemizes stuff for you. So you just put in list 1, list 2 for X, or for X and Y. Where it says store regression equation, that's where you put your Y1. And you hit VARS, right arrow, and hit enter because you're already on function, and choose Y1. And then at the bottom it gives you the calculate option. Highlight that, press enter, and it will calculate it all for you. Yep.
Sorry, I missed what you said. What do you put in the, once you click Y equals, where you click?
Y, that's like 5 pages ago.
No, sorry, no, like when you,
Your R value is 0.99929979726. That is as close to 1 as you can almost get there. So that is a strong positive correlation. So that's how you calculate an R value. Notice that it gives you the numbers for the equation that you can plug in for A and B. It will give you that as well. You can also make a prediction based on this equation that you were given. For example, in the table that I gave you, there is no 55 value for X, but we want to know what Y is when we put 55 in. So do that. Hit 55, and then hit the store button, which is just to the left of the 1, STO. 55, and then hit STO. It gives you an error, or not an error, but an arrow. Gives you an arrow, and you want to hit the XT theta N button, which is just beneath the mode button. That gives you an X. Hit enter and it says 55. That means it has been stored in for X. Now to figure out what Y is when X is 55, you go back to your VARs. You hit VARs, right arrow to YVARs, enter, and choose the Y1 that we had. And then hit enter. It gives you the answer. When X is 55, Y is 109.59.